Today, we're going to be talking with Greg Gotlin and Mandy Cavaliere from GForce. So, Greg, let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Greg Gotlin with GForce. I'm the managing partner. I've been in the Lawson space since the mid 90s. I was actually a controller for a company called Hard Rock Cafe, you probably heard of. And somehow I ended up in consulting when a bunch of consultants showed up my doorstep and helped me with an upgrade and haven't turned back since. So GForce has been around for a little over 11 years. And we're here to help answer some of your Lawson questions today.
Great. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Mandy Cavaliere. I'm the senior partner at GForce. I've been here for 5 years, and I lead our delivery team. I'm especially excited about today's webinar because, like Greg, I was also a user on the client side of Lawson for many years before moving into consulting. I previously managed finance departments and ran into many of the same challenges that we're going to talk to you about today. In fact, before I joined GForce, I actually hired them to help me with one of the topics we'll be discussing shortly. So I know firsthand how valuable these solutions are that we're going to be talking about. And I'm confident you're going to walk away from today's session with something practical to use in your day-to-day use of Lawson. So thanks again for joining us. Ashley, I'll hand it back to you to get us started.
Absolutely. We just had a flurry of people join, so I'm just going to say real fast before we jump in. This is a conversation, not just a presentation. So if you have any questions throughout, please type them in the chat and we'll answer them in real time. And if we don't, at the end, we'll have a section where we can answer some questions as well. So please, if you have a question, someone else might as well. So it really benefits everybody. And with that, we are going to go ahead and get started. So I think one thing about Lawson is that there can be some challenges with navigation. Heard that is the case. I have not been a former user, but that is pretty consistent when we talk with people. So Mandy, can you share with us just something that you do when you get started with folks?
Yes, exactly. So one of those common things that we see all of the time in organizations is there's turnover, there's new hires, or there's a form in Lawson that you don't go to very frequently. So you don't remember where it is, how to access it. One of my favorite things in Lawson is the flowchart capabilities. So I'm going to go to APFL today, but this works for any of the modules. So if you want to look into GL, you can go to GLFL or Assets, AMFL. So this provides you with a flowchart of all the different ways you can get to forms. The first one it's taking me to here is under Setup. I can find any of the different things that need to be set up in the AP module. Or if I'm working on processing and I'm trying to get a report for AP and I just don't know that form number, then I click down here into Reports and I click on Current Reports. And when I'm hovering over these reports, it's really small. You probably can't see it, but this one says this is the AP 220. So this will let me know next time that I need to go and look for this report. I can just type in AP 220 and I can hover and I can find any of these reports and click into them.
Hey, Mandy, go back to the flow chart. I wanted to show them something else.
Sure.
I often get questions around how things default. So I have to override it at the invoice level all the time. Maybe it's the payment code, and I really want it to be ACH. I know this vendor, I have to override it. Well, if you look at this in the hierarchy, location overrides, vendor overrides location, vendor class overrides vendor group. So it works its way up, and you can see that on the company side too. So where process level overrides invoice, so it'll default to the invoice level. But then company, there's some values there that will default if you don't have those values selected. So understanding the hierarchies, this is a good visual of that.
Yeah, so this is the hierarchical view, but there's also another option to get the same information. If I go to APMN, I get kind of just a menu chart of all of the same things that we were just showing you. This isn't showing you the hierarchy, but I can go straight into reporting like I was in before. And here it shows me on the screen all of the different reports and the name of the report and the form number that I need to get to those reports. So a very good tool to use if you need help with navigation.
Well, absolutely. And on this call, we might have all power users, perhaps, but I would like people to think if you knew about that, are there people inside your organization who maybe don't? So that's another thing that we really find is that knowledge transfer. Sometimes there can be a gap in that. So again, when you're looking at these things that maybe are completely, ingrained in you, making sure that you share that within your organization, because we definitely find there's people that come in and, like Mandy said, with hiring and turnover can absolutely be gaps.
So another thing,
Yep.
Ashley, that we find when we're working with Lawson customers is there's shortcuts that you can use on these forms that help you understand, what the field means or what the field is called, things like that. So one of my favorite ones, and so I'm on an AP10 form right now just to show you. And if I'm in a field and I say Control-Shift-H, I get the field help. And this helps me understand what should go into this field. If I don't know what to put in this field, now this one's pretty self-explanatory, but here it gives me an explanation of what should go into that field, as well as the length of the field. So I know that this field has 20 characters available.
That is great. Okay, well, good. So some quick navigation and flow, being able to see things. So another area that I understand that there is some difficulty with Lawson, and it's all about getting data out of the system. So can you talk to me about what's one of the first things that we do when we start working with somebody who's in Lawson?
I'll jump into that. I find a lot of my customers, even though they have Microsoft add-ins and they're using it for upload wizards, they forget that they can use it for querying of data. So typically you get, I've seen many departments where they have dozens and dozens of maybe crystal reports out there, and they're just fancy queries, or they have to go to IT to get data and they say, I need a dump of a certain data set. So they're constantly going out there, but Query Wizard can totally help you get that information out, and you can save off your queries. A lot of customers don't know how to use it. This is an end user tool, not an IT tool. So taking advantage of this. And you can see down in the bottom left-hand corner, one of the biggest complaints I get about using the Query Wizard is, I don't know the tables. I don't know how they all work. And you can see down in that bottom left-hand corner where we typed in API in that prefix. And Mandy will show you in a bit, but you can go onto your screen, do Control-Shift-O, and it will tell you what that prefix is for that field, for that table, what table it's associated with. And in this case, it told me, hey, if you go look under AP, you'll find a table called AP invoice, and that will get you there. And then it's kind of not really, it's not selected here because we didn't select it in this screenshot. I wanted to use screenshots for this, just it's easier than it timing out in the middle of a presentation. But you'll see related fields, and you can find related tables that are related to AP invoice, such as AP distributions or AP payments, vendor, all those things. You can get to that information. So now you're making a better query when you have these relations, because maybe on the AP invoice screen, you start there, but you want to have vendor name in there somehow in that query, because you want to know what the vendor name is when you query that. So really cool things to do. A couple other things that just some good tips in here. If you go to the next screen there, Ashley. Yeah. So in the criteria section, so there's two different things. There's criteria and criteria selection. Understanding I like to use the criteria wherever I can and not the selections. The selections have a different reason, but using those indexes that you could see where we're selected on AP set 1, and then I can type in what those are. It's going to make the query perform better, because these are predefined in the database, these indexes, to allow it to access that data more effectively and more efficiently. But even another step there is in that conditions area there where you see conditions. And in this case, I want to see all the vendors, all the invoices that are in Company 100 that are open invoices, rather than having to know whether that's a released invoice, unreleased invoice, history, knowing the codes. This way, I can just say, just show me open invoices. That's all I want to need. I want to see everything that is open and ready to be paid, or maybe it's on hold, but it's going to show me that.
Okay.
I saw that pop up. Access HR has the same capabilities to do your access of your HR information as well. You can query employee data. So if you're on HR 11 and you're doing and you're trying to, I really want to dump all those employees out, and I want to do all employees that are active. I can use the query wizard to pull that information and pull the fields that I want to pull from that HR 11 record. Not, I might be looking for something specific. Their start date, their hire date. I'm sorry, their hire date, or maybe I'm looking for all the termination dates in there. I can pull any of that data. It's all in there, and I can pull it with using the query wizard. Um, on the bottom right, you'll see in there, I use the selection criteria. Think of selection criteria as when I want to group certain things. So I might be saying, I want for HR specifically, I might want to say, I'm looking for particular term codes out there when I'm looking at that employee record. So I might say, if it's this term code or this term code or this term code, and I can use the criteria selection for that. So I can group some data together and pull it out. So it's like if then or statements, if you will, on the selection criteria. Where on the top left-hand corner, that's more indexed values. And you'll find the same thing under an HR, an employee record where it says active employees. Okay. So great question out there. I won't forget about you. Anybody else that's out there for HR, let me know. I can talk HR too, but I am a finance guy first.
And all the tools that we're going to show you today can be used throughout the entire Lawson system,
Yeah.
not just finance.
Yeah, we pick on AP as screens usually because just to show there's just a lot of fields similar to like HR. HR 11's just got thousands of fields, just like AP 10 vendor has hundreds of fields on it, thousands, but hundreds of fields. And if you go to the next slide too, just a little pro tip when you're doing your query wizards and you're pulling your data, see that section where I say clear worksheet before send? Make sure you select that, because otherwise you might end up, you might have queried 100 records and then the next query only has 10. It's going to leave 90 of those records in there because it didn't overwrite those records. This way it'll clear out the Excel workbook and then put in the new data. And Ash, if you go back, one thing I forgot to cover.
Sure.
When you're building your queries, if you look in the top left-hand box, it says 600 in the top right of there on their maximum primary records to return. That start off small when you're building your queries. You don't want to, you're looking for, build out your query, find out what you're looking for, and then expand it. If there's more than 600 records, when you dump it, it's going to stop at record 601. You know that there's at least one more record out there beyond that. And the field below that is the one to many values. If you're looking at like in an HR record, you might have certain multiple codes for somebody. If you're looking at a related field that has multiple values, maybe it was their pay increases over time. You're starting at the employee, but looking at a related table. You can pick how many records you want to return in that one to many. So in AP, if I have a distribution at the bottom and I code it to 5 different accounts, if I make that 5 and I put AP distrib as a related table there, it's going to bring in 5 records for me and not just that one record. So good pro tips there.
Yeah. So I'm going to quickly go back to the Lawson screen here and show you guys how you can build these yourself. So what we find a lot of times is a lot of the functional users rely on IT to develop these queries for them, but you don't need to, because you can get this information yourself. It's right at your fingertips. So I'm going to just stay in the same screen that Greg was in. So I'm in AP 20. So I'm going to look to query my invoice records. And say I'm over here in the payment tab and I'm wanting to pull out, payment code. I don't know what field that is. If I Control-Shift-O, down here at the bottom, this is that field, that APP, that's where Greg typed it into that prefix field, and it would tell me that that table is AP payment. So then I know what table to find this in. But on my screen, it says payment code, but it's really called bank inst code in that AP payment table. So that kind of just gives me a quick preview as to, how I'm able to find that when I'm building out my queries. So a quick little tip, Control-Shift-O. That's how you find it when you're clicked into a field.
Yeah, and it also tells you all the size and everything of the record down there too. So you can see it tells you it's an upper, it's 3 characters, a lot of good information in there as well.
A lot of information.
Right. Okay. Well, another common pain point we hear is producing financial statements. So how do you approach the production of financial statements within Lawson?
Yes, so Report Writer, I think most of you are familiar with RW100. If you're going to produce financial statements, you go into RW100 to run your reports on a monthly basis, maybe more frequently. One of the things that, little tip is a lot of people just run it in this report option down here. There's a lot of different options that you can select. And one of the ones that we highly recommend is this number 5 option, which is Report, Spreadsheet, and Drill Around. This will allow you to run your report in a PDF form. It'll produce it in that. It'll also produce it in an Excel document. And it will give you drill around capabilities in that PDF report. So there will be a little hyperlink on all of the numbers you can click to drill around in that report.
Little pro tip there. If you've tried that and it doesn't work, like it never gives me the drill around, extra XML down at the bottom there, that third box, select that to yes if you want that to work.
Great. And this is another one where, a lot of people are familiar with RW100, but you need to make a change to your report. So how do we do that, Greg?
Yeah, so I get this a lot. So if you don't mind, yeah. So RW00 is kind of, think of that as like the report, pulls all the row files and the formats and everything together so we can run that report. And I get a lot of customers that say, I don't know how to build these. They're too complicated. And I'll get yelled at, but I say it's easy. But this is the area where you go to develop. But one of the cool things here, and I always want to point it out, is that folder field, the second field down. That field is really important because you can set security around that folder so someone can't change your row files. I know if you're a report writer person, and by the way, HR has their HR reporter. It's the same similar reporting module. It does the same thing with folders, etc. But you can lock your report. So you might have a row file and a format that you don't want anybody to change, or this report itself too. And it will you can lock it down so only certain users can view it, but also certain users can change or add to it. So keep that in mind. It's a great way to secure them down. But one of the things I would say, there's a little copy button there, and you could copy this report so you have a copy of it and change your folder to what you want it to be so you can have your own version of it. And then you also can copy, if I'm working on a row file, which is like my accounts, I can make a copy of that row file and use that and work off of it, get exactly what I want, then go back and fix maybe the original. So there's nothing that says I can't have a lot of row files. I do recommend after you fix them and you got your one working, go clean it up and delete it. One of the things I find is whenever I go out to customers on a report writer, is they have hundreds and hundreds of reports they've never run, that they don't run anymore. So sometimes a good idea as you're getting ready for upgrades, clean that up, look out there what you've run. There is a last run thing that tells you out there. I forgot exactly where it is, but there's a field in there somewhere on the header that says the last time it was run. But yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. Really, really important. And again, works in HR too, folders, copying, building your reports. It's not a really hard thing, but I do get a lot of customers that ask us for help on this and help them. That's one of our support things that we do is from a managed services perspective. We just write reports and help adjust these reports and get to what they exactly need. But we also do training as well and teach you how to do it as well.
It makes it sound easy, but if you remember, this is why I hired GForce when I was on the client side to help us fix these reports.
She'd call us up and say, "Hey, can you help us with an order?" And we try to, and then we taught her how to do it, and then eventually she just came to work for us and said, "I could do that for you."
And Greg, you talk about that there's kind of two camps. There's people that use Report Writer a ton, and then folks that have abandoned it. And just why
Yeah,
would
there's
someone maybe not be utilizing it? Just
well, hey, I'm not going after financial data. Maybe I'm going after accounts payable or HR or things to other areas. So, there's definitely things that they can go after. And one of the tools that I think you're leaning towards Power Pivot is so yeah, let me share. I've got a Power Pivot up and running, and to me, this is the best unknown free tool that's out there for really anything for database wise. And this is a Power Pivot. So Excel, although we say that ERP stands for the Excel replacement program, you're still going to have Excel in your world. And this is it. When the problem with Excel is it's limited to how many rows it can have. So if I'm dealing with massive amounts of data, hundreds of thousands of rows, it Excel can only handle 1 million. And if you put 1 million, we all know if you put 1 million rows into your Excel spreadsheet, you might as well, when you're opening it, you might as well go home while it's opening and come back later, okay? Because it'll take forever to open. So what Power Pivot gives you the ability to do is bring in, it turns Excel into a database. And I have a pivot table open here, and I just did it over some AP data, but I'm going to click on this. You'll have an option up here in Excel, and if you don't, it has to be turned on. Best thing I can tell you is Google it to turn it on. It's 2 seconds to turn it on. You'll find it there. It's free. It's part of Excel, but it might not just be up there on your Excel. But if you click on this manage, if you look here, I have 1.2 million rows coming into this Excel spreadsheet. That's the data subset that I used. And when I look at this, all I have to do is really hit this refresh button and it'll pull in the current data. So is it real-time data? No, but if I click on this, I don't want to do it on this demo, but it takes exactly 30 seconds to run. But 30 seconds when we're here on a webinar could be a lifetime. But yeah, looking at that external data and looking at what that is, this is just a query running over the data here, let me just from my, I pulled it from Access. I can pull it from other sources. So let me see my existing connection here, and this was here. And I can just write a query in here and write it. And this is where you're going to need IT's help just once. I need a query to pull all of my AP invoices in. I want open history. I want the payment information. I want all the distributions. I want this massive query that's going to have, 20 million rows in it at the end of the day. And I want to be able to look at that and sort through it because I don't want to use AP90. I like AP90, but I got to do a lot of clicks on AP90. So I'm going to get out of here and just cancel back and just go back to what this did for me. Okay, I'm going to close this out and go back. So this pivot table, over 1.2 million records. So, hey, I want to go out there. I want to find out all of the invoices for this vendor. Oh, that was quick. And I want to see just the ones that are open. All right, now I've got that one invoice that's open, and I bet you that was it's just for one company. So I see that's for one company. If I clear this filter, I might have several companies that I have my EP companies for different ones. I have that same invoice out there. Cool way of looking for a duplicate invoice too, if you had that out there. But hey, I'm looking for just that one. I can easily get to this information, and I can say, yeah, I want to drill into this information here. I want to find out, and boom, there's all the invoices that it make up that. I can get right back to all that detail that's from the original query. That was 1.2 million records in regular Excel going through it. That's how long it takes to go through it. One of my favorite little hacks for Lawson for data. Super quick. Yes, it does require getting IT to help you write a query. You need read access to the database. Not, if you have, some of my customers have a reporting server, so it's not hitting the database right away. But this is query the data, brings it in, and then it's real data. But if I go into Lawson and make a change, it's not changed here until I hit that refresh button that we were talking about before. Anybody else? If there's questions around that, let me know, because that one, people ask me, oh, what other things you can do? I've built out some queries. I think the largest query I ever built was for one of our customers. I think it was 30 million records that we pulled in through Excel. And it took about 2 minutes to bring in the data, but then that was about it.
And Greg, I think you were saying when you have IT build that report, it's good to put all the fields in that you might possibly want, because then you can slice it and
Yeah,
do
good
all of
question. So in my query, I only pulled up a few things, but this query had all these fields in it, and I said, hey, I want them camel, I want them regular cased so they're easier to read, they're prettier. So that's how I pulled them out. So that all the fields, but this is all the fields from AP invoice and vendors. So I pulled in all the vendor information as well. So, and I just said, link them together, do a join on that table. Super easy, like I said, to write these queries out of the system. And
No,
another thing that we can help with too. So
Yeah, absolutely. No, so that's great. So far we have talked about the add-ins, report writer, now Power Pivot, things that are either native to the Lawson environment or add on easily. Another thing, when we are talking with clients that are on Lawson, it is pretty remarkable how many we find that actually own products that they aren't using. So one of our tips would be talk to your Infor rep, get a list of what you actually own today, because maybe when you purchased it, that wasn't relevant, you didn't set it up for whatever reason. But guys, can you talk about what we find when we work with people, how they really aren't leveraging what they actually own?
Yeah, absolutely. So we find it, and it's very common that you have modules that you're not utilizing. In fact, one of those modules is procurement. We have a customer that just recently implemented procurement in Lawson, or accounts receivable. You could be doing manual processes today where you're manually billing your customers using Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, uploading journal entries for the results, and you're not utilizing the functionalities that are directly in Lawson.
yeah, we come
Same
across
with
assets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say assets is a big one. I'm using Sage. It just we haven't really implemented it yet. But yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'll say too, sometimes those modules they get replaced by other things too. So, hey, we needed an AR module. We didn't know we had one, so we went out and bought a third-party AR module. Okay, so we had this AR module. We've been using it for 5 years, but we didn't know we had one built into the ERP.
Yeah.
ERP is everything. So if you're not sure it does it, reach out. We'll help you figure out if it does it. Oh, someone.
Okay, so let's see. We have a question that came in. It says we have ESS and MSS, but are not using them currently. We've been asking for assistance with implementation.
Well, we need to talk to who is that? That was Beth. Yeah, Beth. We can help out with employee self-service and manager self-service for sure. We can give you some ideas of how you could leverage that. And then as you move towards the future too, those are just that's how Infor is in the future. It's just that those become there's employee self-service, but it's part of the new module. So they're kind of edge products, if you will, but not really. They're web-based products that allow your employees to go out there and get to their own data. Yeah, definitely, Beth. We'll reach you. We'll try to connect with you after.
Absolutely. So that was a great segue, actually, because so there's these modules that you may own already and haven't implemented for whatever reason. So that's a great area to look at ways to, again, maximize the system where you are today. Now, there's another piece, and it's these edge products. So they are products that kind of live in Lawson, but also are kind of halfway to the CloudSuite. So they bridge that gap. Can you guys talk about, and these are available for purchase. So if you don't own them, but these are things that we have found. Can you talk kind of through what people have been using those and the benefit today and tomorrow?
Yeah,
Go for it, Mandy.
absolutely. Most common one that we see our customers use is APIA, which is Accounts Payable Invoice Automation. The nice thing about these edge products, they work with Lawson. But they look and feel like the upgraded version that you'll be moving to or upgrading to eventually down the road. This APIA tool allows you to implement approval workflows on your AP invoices, and then they go back into Lawson for payment. So they kind of come out, use this Edge product for AP approvals, and then they go back into Lawson for payments. The thing that is very nice is that setup that you've done on that Edge product directly correlates to the upgraded version. So you're halfway there. The work is, a lot of the work is already done in building out that solution.
Yeah, I want to say, and it's also not just invoices, approvals, but the actual invoices are in APIA in that case, and the images you can store there too. So you can link to images. So if you're using an imaging solution or you don't have one, you can now have those images associated with it. And that's just how Infor, the new version, FSM CloudSuite works. I mean, it's all built on there. So it looks and feels just like it. It's just kind of it's on the edge. So it's you still have to go set your vendors up in AP10 and run your payment cycles in AP150. But and same thing on HR. There's global HR allows you the HR side, but you're still running payroll and payroll. Well, now as you move towards the newer version, you're going to see that there's all of those things, and learning how to use it. You're going to be, well, I really want to do everything. I don't want to type forms in Lawson anymore. And you're going to want to do what the Edge products are because they're just so much easier to use. And there's a couple others I was going to throw out there to you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hear you talk about this next two.
Yeah. So cash and treasury module out there. It's part of the FinPro, the LM Fin product line, I guess is how they sell it. But that allows you to integrate with your bank information. So pulling in bank files directly into your bank. If that's all you did, that would be a big win for the finance team. Think about, being able to reconcile your bank statements real time, every day, and coding them and having them code right into the system, or reconcile open checks and those kind of things. So it's really a cool module. And then there's the module that I think kind of helps it out too is close and recon. Think about being able to recon any account in your balance sheet, from a finance perspective, close and recon. It can also help in the recon of payroll too. So payroll accrual accounts that you might have out there. So think about it that way, benefit accounts, tax accounts, etc. So both sides of the puzzle it works for on the recon side. And then the close management module kind of ties that all together and says, did I do what I was supposed to do? Did I close my bank statement? Did I reconcile my cash? Did I do my prepaids? Did I reconcile my accrual accounts? Those kind of things. So it really pulls it all together. And all of those exist in the new world again. Those are just part of the core product that you'll have when you move to your new version. But there's no reason to not have it today. This is, these are things that you can take advantage of today. And if you need to see any of those, reach out to us on that. We can show them to you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So just to reiterate, that is a way that you can make the system that you're in today so much more efficient for your team and really optimize it. But also it gives you that head start to the future. So the investment, the time, the training that has taken the thought to set those up. When we move to CloudSuite, you have all of that work done. So it's not double work. So get a little head start to the future as well. I think we just had a question come in. Are these Edge products available to us for free or licensing fees? I believe they're licensing fees, but we can connect you with your Infor rep, and you guys can talk about what everything looks like. There's a lot of different things that they can do, and
some of them you may already own. You'd be surprised.
Yeah,
Right?
That's right.
It's all if you're hosted by Infor, a lot of those were just part of the licensing agreement when you're on the single tenant of Lawson. So they just look out there for those things. But these aren't big price tag ones either. They're low cost. The cost to implement them might be, there's still a cost to that, but the cost to ownership of those modules. It might be low.
Well, and what you get out of it, and sometimes third party vendor elimination. So there's all sorts of ways to look for it. We really encourage you to work with your Infor rep. And if you don't know who that is, we can help you connect to the right person. But it's a huge opportunity that when we talk with people, we find really frequently that they do own things that maybe make a lot of sense now. So again, that's something that we want to make sure everybody is aware of. So that actually takes us to the end of what we have prepared, and we have a few more minutes before we time out. We want to be respectful of everyone's time. So we've had some questions throughout, and I see that I have, let's see, there's one more that just came in. So, hey, Mandy, you showed us the shortcut to field help. Are there others, and how can I find them?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to take over sharing for a second, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
So over here, I'm back on my main screen here in Lawson. And if I click on this little question mark, oops, sorry.
And just know this, different versions of it, you might see, you probably have to go to a form, Mandy.
Yeah, okay, going back here, going to a different form.
Yeah, and different, you might find it off to the left-hand side in a menu. It just really depends on which version of Portal you're running in Lawson. So this is an older version of Portal, but the newer version, it's like a blue screen. You'll see it on the left-hand side for form help.
Yeah, so it'll be there or it'll be under here for this question mark. So if I'm clicking, I can click on form help. That'll tell me what this form is for. But the shortcut keys, if I don't know what they are, they're actually called hotkeys. And this hotkeys will tell me all of those different shortcuts. So I think, we showed you a couple of them today, but this is how you can get access to all of them.
That is wonderful. We have another question that just came in. How do most companies pull security reports from older versions of Lawson?
That's a great question. So there is a security module, to be able to pull reports. You have to create those reports in there. You select what you want. You're basically selecting the parameters of all those reports, but there is a reporting tool that's in there. There are also some third-party vendors out there that do have some security tools depending on, your needs. If you have a SOX compliance type thing, I can recommend one. Kinsey has a great tool out there that pulls over Lawson security, but it is definitely clunky. Lawson security. The future is a lot easier to see who's doing what and the separation of duties within Lawson. To see Lawson security is more what you have, not what you don't have. So it can really be confusing, because there's something you don't have that you want or you should have. It doesn't tell you what you should have. It just says what you have. So keep that in mind on the Lawson reports.
Now, Greg, that's something that I know just from when we work with people. Sometimes that's a whole exercise of going in, making sure people have access based on their jobs and what they need to see. But there's a way to help with that, but it's kind of hands-on.
Yeah, and there's some queries and things that we can help develop for you, pulling out data directly from the database. Even a Power Pivot might be helpful now that my brain's turning around it across your Gen database. But security itself is embedded into the code. It's, into the code. So running those security ports, there is a security port tool that's built into your security to how you deploy security. So, or create new roles out there. So it does allow you to do it, but it does take a lot of work. It's not an easy tool.
Okay. Hey, I have another one. How do I get started using add-ins? I don't have that option in Excel.
You want me to go, Mandy?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it is an install for add-ins to Excel. It's a download from Infor Concierge you need to have. So if you have access to the downloads and you're able to, it's usually a soft install, meaning that it doesn't require administrative permissions. It's just adding an add-in to Excel. But typically, I always say, go to your IT department, say, I need add-ins on my computer. And they'll get it on there for you. And sometimes you have Upload Wizard only, and you're like, well, I have Upload, but I don't have the query. Go to File Options and find add-ins, and then just select it. It's probably just not selected.
It's a great tip. And in the same vein, another question, I don't see RW0000 screen. I can only see RW100.
Yeah, so that's very common. You know where to go to run the reports. You didn't even know that you could maintain them, probably because you don't have access. So the first place I would recommend going, go to your IT department, figure out who has access to maintain those reports, and then they can help you with that.
Yeah, that kind of leans back to exactly what I was saying about security.
Mhm.
It doesn't tell you what you don't have. It just tells you what you have. So, hey, I can't get to RW00. There's nothing that says you don't have access to that. It just says here's. So ask for, hey, I need access to RW00 and RW10, RW20. I need access to everything RW. Okay, and
Yeah.
get in there.
Again,
So.
it makes it sound
Perfect.
so easy.
Exactly. Hey, well, listen, we have hit our time. We have enjoyed this thoroughly. I hope that everybody who is listening took a little something away